thank you. I would like, first of all, to thank all the organizers. Heather, David is not here with us. It's just Mironov, and then Sorin. I have no words to express my happiness, my gratitude to all of you. Any events that human beings will take that will sustain itself over 23 years, something that we should all commend. You know, every single day we have things, people come with great ideas, and within a year, a month or so, you know, it's out of energy, out of love. Things just die. So when you have something that's going on like this for 25 years, and I see young people here that just, you know, 10 years old, and they're telling me they're 5th year here, and they have a 2-3 generation, I think it's something that we all need to commend. And I am very, very happy to be a part of this.
Tell the story of the kid 12 years old that taught you astronomy.
Yeah, this is remarkable. And being who I am, knowing that knowledge is something that I crave for, and it doesn't matter where it's coming from. And I was just here last night. I was telling whoever I met this morning that I learned more about astronomy last night than I ever learned in my whole life. From a 12 years old boy. It was so amazing. You see this young man, he takes it, he said, this is M13, this galaxy, this. And I was amazed about that. From a 12 years old boy. And I say, yes, no, that alone was a good reason for me being here. And it shows that, and believe it or not, where I am, you know, in the US, in Africa, people think I know a lot. So to come here and realize a 12 years old telling me, showing me things that I didn't know, it really shows me that yes, we should never take for granted certain things. You know, there's a lot to be learned, and as long as we have the mindset to open, we always learn. And then learning is a lifetime journey, and I'm here to keep that knowledge. So that said, again, my name is Djoken, and I was born in Cameroon. Cameroon is somewhere in the central of Africa, next to Nigeria. And talking about the possibilities, the power of dreams, I think just by sharing my life experience, you will understand why I strongly believe in the power of dreams, in the power of thinking outside the box. The saying when anytime people tell you this is not possible, you know, you just say you have to believe in yourself that yes, you can change the world. So.
Hai să oprim muzica, spuneți-le să oprească.
So.
Oprește muzica.
Okay, thank you. So again, I said I was born in a very humble family in Cameroon. And when I say humble, it means it was very, very difficult for my parents. And I can still remember, when I was 7 years old, I make a trip of about 10 miles. 10 miles around 17 kilometers. Yes, something like 15, 17 kilometers, just to go from my village to the nearest town. And not only I was doing that once, but every Friday I would leave. After school in Friday evening, I will leave the city to travel by foot to go in the village where I had to be in the weekend, you know, in farming with my parents, my brother and sister. And then Sunday we would walk back. And it was not an easy task, but we just to do it because, you know, there was no other way. And the equivalent, because the parents didn't have the 25 cents that would pay for the trip, for the trip to go and farm. So that's the kind of upbringing I had. But we never actually realized that we were poor because, you know, we have the social fabric was there. We have the love of our parents, our brother and sister. But there's one thing that our parents, my mother, my father told me at a very age. They wanted me to go to school, to learn. Learning and aspire to do something different in my life. So that started me a quest. My father actually was one of those fighting for the independence of Cameroon, and as such, he ended up with the losing side and had to spend some time in jail. He was a political prisoner. And so when I used to go and visit him in jail with my mom, I tried to imagine a young boy whose father is not at home, and the mother will take him to jail to see your father, and then you cannot take your father. Say, what are you doing here? What have you done? Have you killed anybody? No. But why are you here? So these are some of the things that actually, at a very age, got me to start thinking about the world. Why should things be the way they are? So I grew up, but my father always said, go in school and learn. That's the only way you are going to help yourself, going to help me, you're going to help your mom and everybody else. And I believe that. And not just learning, because of course he wanted me to be good in math, he wanted me to go in science and everything, but he said something that we tend not to realize. Learn about history. He pointed to people like Mahatma Gandhi, he pointed to people like Dr. King, he pointed to people like Che Guevara, he pointed to Nelson Mandela that was in South Africa. So he pointed to so many people, and he wanted me to make a point to study the life of these people. So I started studying the life of these people, and somehow I didn't realize what was happening, but that was taking a toll of my life. So gradually, I went to school, I graduated, I went to university, and when I got to the university, something interesting started happening around the world. I learned about Gorbachev was the glasnost, and the world was changing, and democracy was going to start all over the place. And we were a little bit naive because we saw things happening in the Eastern Europe. We know what happened here, the revolution that started, and we all know about it. What happened here in Romania, where the people went on the street and you cried for freedom and you were listened to. So we in Africa thought here that was time also for us to go in the street and claim our country and create a democracy. But unfortunately for us, when Cameroon was colonized by France, which is a superpower that had no interest in seeing democracy evolve there, because they have so much interest there. So many of our friends, when were assassinated, many were arrested, ended up in jail, and some disappeared, totally vanished. So at that time, it was time for me to find for a safe haven. And I leave Cameroon not because I wanted, but because it became impossible for me to be there. We were wanted searched by the police for each and things like that. So I left there. I went to Nigeria, then to Ghana, and I found myself in the US. And the reason I'm sharing that with you because the possibility of me being born in Cameroon, and some would say in the middle of nowhere, for the kind of family that I have, and ending up in front of you today, speaking before you today, just like I had a chance to speak in so many other countries, the probability of it happening was close to zero. Like I told you, my parents didn't have money, but they gave me the tools that I needed to be successful in life. And so when I ended up in the US, without even realizing, I joined a movement called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. It is called known as the NAACP. And I just, because the ANC, the ANC actually received a lot of counsel from the NAACP, the ANC in South Africa. So I was just doing the thing that were natural for me, very simple for me. And when we are doing I like to say there's never the wrong time to do the right thing. When you are doing what is natural to you, people pay attention. People were noticing. So one day there were elections happening every 2 years in that association. And without even realizing, one day there were two fractions that were fighting for the control of power within the association of civil rights. And I didn't have to choose a side on it because I was there for a purpose. And somehow, strange thing happened. Both sides agreed that Guy is supposed to be the vice president because, he could work with both parties. Because I didn't have any party. I was going there to do my things. I used to write, and so. And then the person that won became president. I've never dreamed about becoming a vice president in an association like that. If you know about any history about the United States, you heard about Rosa Parks. You heard about Dr. King, you heard about all these great people that helped end slavery in Africa. The NAACP was actually the movement that was used to end slavery in the United States. So it's the most powerful civil rights organization in the United States. So for me, being even just a vice president of SOMI was, that was the best thing that could ever happen to me. But things happen, and then suddenly one day, I have Mr. Lord Nicon. He's 99. Actually, he was 99 years old yesterday. He was president for the association for over 20 years. An old man, a wise man, called me and said, you know what, destiny is calling onto you, and you have to become the next president because the president is out of the picture right now. I said, what's happening? Me, president? It was so overwhelming. I couldn't answer, but he said, I've been paying attention to you. You ask the right questions. I always say I'm going to try. I ask all these stupid questions that sometimes people do, like they say, you ask the right question, you don't take side and things like that. And if you ever need help, I will be there to help you. Don't be scared, take that position. So I became the president of the National Association of the Atlantykron People in my jurisdiction. And that for me was already something big enough. So, as the president, I had a very unorthodox way of managing things. I don't believe in top-down. I believe in being on the table and then, being constructive feelings. People who come with the issues, of course, there are rules that you have to go by because without rules it's a chaos. But within those rules, you can allow people to express themselves, and that's how one thing led to another. And before I realized, I had a Washington Post sending reporters to come and spend some time with me to see my work, and had a very a unique article that was published in the Washington Post, and the title was very, very strange. I didn't even realize the title of an article until someone came, some of the people from Africa came to me. The title says, African activist strives to repair NAACP. When I saw that article in the Washington Post, actually it didn't mean that much to me. But the president before me actually did not manage very well. How some people come with great ideas, but before they realize it, they are using the resource organized to do their own personal thing. So, and the president before that also, there was some problem of managing. So here is an African, taking the helm of an organization, and within 2 years, the change were felt. I received so many awards from turning an association that was discredited to something that was reputable and accepted. And that's why when the article came out, so many people in the African community were actually very proud of the fact that here we have a civil rights organization, one of the most powerful civil rights organizations in the United States, being saved by someone who's African. Usually we are used to have people from the north, from America, going to Africa, going to other parts to save organization. Yet we had someone coming from, because when I started, there are a lot of people that say, oh yeah, he's just one of those, I have a lot of people within the association that didn't give me credit. They didn't think I would take the association anywhere. But when the results started coming and there were some tangible results, everybody, I kind of have a consensus around. So that article actually is one of the things that put me in the front page. When we have an article in the Washington Post, it becomes a national thing. I start being noticed by people here and there, and start making speaking engagement, and that's how the U.S. National Commission for UNESCO noticed me, and then school noticed me to come over there and do some talk. And I'm giving that story to tell you how powerful it is. If I am able to go from where I was born to being here before you today, is because of the power of the dream. My father was able to put in me the aspiration, the drive, and not only the drive, but also the tools to be able to drive, to make that happen. And that's what I want to share with you today. We all aspire to make this world a better place. I believe all of you here, you could have been doing something in Ireland, in other places, but we choose to be here. And the quest for knowledge comes down for me a little bit. I did not choose to be born where I was born. I did not choose my parents. I don't know when I will be leaving this earth, when I will die. But I do know one thing. I have the responsibility between now and the day I die to shape, to use my life to do something. It can be something that's going to benefit humanity. It can be something that's going to benefit me and only me. It can be something that is going to be negative for humanity, but I have that responsibility. So thinking outside of the box, dreaming. This morning, when I woke up, it was so strange because the first thing I checked was opening my iPhone. We tried to be disconnected by that. And then curiosity was landing in Mars. Stop a moment and think about that. The significance of that. Someone Sunday dreamed about a human being on Mars. You know, I still remember when we used to have only poets. You know, the poets were claiming that the moon is theirs because they were the only one who could dream about what's happening there. But today we have a human being, you know, Apollo, in the 60s. You know, you have a young president of the United States, Kennedy, said, we are going to go to the moon. How many people laugh at him when he said that? So many. But yet, it happened. So today, we are having a spacecraft in Mars. Why? Because people dream about it and help make it happen. And I like to use my example to say that sometimes we are caught up with the day-to-day survival machine. Say, okay, and of course, when you have a project, we need to have money for the project before the project is implemented. And I said, no. We have to dream. Dream big. Someone once told me that it's better to leave this earth with thousands of dreams unfulfilled than to live a life without dream. We have to dream because every single thing, positive, significant, that has changed this our humanity for good came because someone someday had a dream. And usually when he dream, people tell him, oh no, you know what, people are making fun of him. No, that will never happen, this and that, but he believed in it. Nelson Mandela, you know, when he was facing all the apartheid in South Africa, there's many reasons for him to give up. He did not. When he was in jail, and the people will say, okay, we are going to set you free. If you leave, you agree to exile, you know, to go somewhere. So, you know, he said, no, it's not about me. It's about my people. He chose. He said, I would rather die for a cause, for my people, than being free alone. And I think when we dream, we think about our life. Yeah, we don't have one life. Maybe we're going to live for 60 years, 100 years. Some live, you know, 120, 150. Until we discover maybe are going to make us live forever. I don't know if we ever. We have this life that is us, and we need to use it to do something big. We have people that live 10 years, but within 10 years, they were able to advance humanity as a whole. Some live 30 years. So it's not about how many years you live, it's about what legacy you leave. And that starts with the power of dream about humanity. And that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.
Let me give you some hope about how much living. The life expectancy on Earth nowadays is 71. Vârsta medie pe Pământ este 71. Every 4 years, we will get 1 more year of life. In 2025, 2030, the life expectancy will go to 80. In 2050, it will be 81. And it is very probable that at the end of the century, it will be 91. So take care, you young people. You will have to work hard. You will get your pensions after 75. Deci mai devreme de vârsta de 75 nu ieșiți la pensie, să vă fie clar, pentru că trebuie să vă țineți bunicii și părinții în spate. And so you will have to keep your fathers, mother, grandfather, grandmother working till 75. Be sure you won't get. Vă spun în câteva cuvinte care e poziția, let me explain in Romanian. UNESCO este o asociație cu 198 mi se pare de membri. În fiecare țară există o comisie națională și în cadrul fiecarei comisii naționale există o asociație a școlilor UNESCO, separat, și o asociație a cluburilor UNESCO. Când eu am plecat de la Comisia UNESCO, în România erau, cred, 25 de cluburi UNESCO, între care Signusul este club UNESCO și a lui Adam asta de la bârlat cu astronomia și alte câțiva m-am străduit să le aduc în cadrul UNESCO. El are poziția a doua în Asociația Cluburilor UNESCO în Statele Unite și asta e o poziție foarte estimabilă pe scara societății civile a lumii. Now, I'm going to change in English, and let me tell you that this morning I went here around just to see how things move, and there were 36 people run by our friend Heather making yoga meditation, which is a wonderful landscape when the sun rises from that part of the Danube. And when among them there was a young man from Africa, he was here, and the Chinese on the other side of the meadow. It is not habitually, but the place is not an habitual place, as we should say. So, how you told us your story, my friend. Let me tell you something that it happened that in my life, being present in Johannesburg at the summit, the chiefs of state were inside a huge hall, something like 8,000 places or something like that, and there was a long couloir, very long couloir in front of it, and we moved that place, and someone got something about this. So you told us a story, something about how you feel things here. Please take.
Bună ziua! Sanbonani! Sanbonani! That is the equivalent of Bună ziua in Zulu. So somebody says Sanbonani, you say Ninjani. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and to share a little bit about myself and also what I've done, a little bit about my history. Yesterday I told you, I shared a little bit about what I do in South Africa, although that is not just that. Listening to Guy here, we come from different sides of the continent. He comes from the western side, I come from the eastern side. And listening to what he went through during his childhood, that would be almost parallel stories. That is the hardships that are there. And so I know even here in Romania, some of the places there are hardships. But you find that when you discover within yourself that there is something that can help you, and that something that can help you is not coming from somebody else, it's coming from within, that is really, really special. Just a little bit about myself. Once again, when growing up, one of the things that happened was that I did not have a father figure in my life. And you can imagine a boy of 5, 10 years old growing up, or even a teenager. You're growing up, the other boys are talking about their fathers, they're talking about what they did with their fathers. And you find that there you are, you feel very small. How comes? And that really knocks down your confidence in terms of how can you express yourself amongst your peers and you don't have a father. So that was something that really pushed me a little bit when I was growing up. But luckily, I had a very good grandmother who brought me up. My mother was there, but my mother would go looking for jobs so that they could put food on the table. But my grandma, bless her soul, wherever she is, brought me up very well. And some of the things that she instilled in me are things that I remember up to now, and they're things that I share, especially during the camps with the youngsters that we have at camp. One of the slides that I showed yesterday was to do, the last one with the red t-shirt, was to do with bringing back hope. And you find that if you don't have hope, in what you're doing, you'll not end up anywhere. But if you have hope, that will energize you. You can do all sorts of other things. You can have all sorts of other things, money, friends and all that. But if there is no hope in your life, you find that you're not going to end up very far. And so one of the things that we emphasize during the camps when we work with the youngsters is that aspect of finding hope in your life, because that gives you the energy from the meditation that we're doing here. That gives you the energy from within, from the qigong that we're doing. That gives you the energy from within to make that extra step, to go a step forward. And going back to my grandma, some of the things that I remember she instilled in me. Yes, we're talking about dreams, the power of dreams. Yes, there you are, you have the dream. And it is good to have that dream. But going back a step further, what is going to take you to that particular dream? What is going to help you make those steps to reach your dream? There is the steps that you're going to take in the day-to-day life. You're going to do mind mapping, and you can map up the way you're going to go there. But there are other things that were shared with me, and I would like to share that with you in terms of what would get you there. And especially with us, I consider myself young, with us young people. And that is what really makes a human being. What makes a human being amongst people? What would you, for example, we're told here, when Nelson Mandela touched somebody, they felt like, wow. Everybody who comes to South Africa, they want to associate themselves with Nelson Mandela. Almost everybody in the world wants to associate themselves with Nelson Mandela. Why? What qualities? What is it that he has? What is it that he has that makes everybody want to be with him? And there are a number of things. And generally we refer to those as values. And they're universal values. I remember discussing this with somebody yesterday. There is humility. The way he carries himself. He is humble. He loves everybody, especially children. He's known for that. He respects people. He is trusted. So if you look at all these values and we ask ourselves, as far as you're concerned, what is it that will distinguish you and help you to reach your goal, to realize your dream, to get where you wanted to be? And you find that what makes us as human beings want to associate with another human being is the way they carry themselves as human beings. The love, the kindness, the support, the humility, the respect, all those values that are there. And one of the questions that I normally ask is, for you to respect other people, do you need to have any degree education? Do you need to have any degree education to love other people?
No degree, but education, yes.
Okay. Do you need, for you to love other people, do you need to be educated? Do you need to go to the university to have the love? No, you just need to be a human being. For you to be trusted, what do you need to do? Do you need to go and study about how to trust other people or to be trusted? For you to respect and all that. So as far as values are concerned, that is what distinguishes us as human beings. And those are things that we don't need to go out there to look out for them. It is you being yourself. You respecting yourself to start with. If I respect myself, the respect will flow from me outwards. If I love myself, the love will flow from me outwards. If I am kind to myself, that will flow from me outwards. And so you find that it all starts here. That is how I conduct myself as a human being. That is going to be a huge tool that is going to help me to get out there. And so what I'd like to share with you this afternoon is that as far as carrying yourself, yes, we have the dreams, and it is good to have the dreams, and 100%. But let's remember, what is going to carry you from where you are now to realizing those your dreams in 5 or 10 years? It is how you conduct yourself as a human being. The way you value yourself, the way you respect yourself, the way you conduct yourself as a human being using those values. And therefore, it is looking at ourselves as an individual. Ask yourself, how am I? What am I doing? would people like to be associated with me the way people like being associated with Nelson Mandela or Mother Teresa when she was alive? So if not, then I need to start looking at myself seriously and say, where can I start checking, doing the checks and balances so that I can find my path towards achieving my dream, and when I'm there, I'll be like one of those iconic figures in our lives who everybody wants to associate themselves with. And with that, I wish you all the best in mapping up your dreams and reaching them. Thank you.
Thank you, Naftaly. But let me tell you, I see education written on the sky of the planet. Let's put education in front of every one of the 7 billion people, and the life will be good for every one of us. Before letting letting Peter Moon and Roberto Quaglia to say something, and I shall let Heather to add something, but let me have a dream, a hope today. I'm a pathological optimistic person, and this is the way my life went up and up. But let me wish you that you will be here in 2030 when a human team will reach Mars. Charles Bolden Jr. Promised him at the NASA meeting this morning when the Curiosity landed on Mars that in 2030 a human team will reach Mars. So be here in 2030. Keep on going with this school. Bring your children and look at how the humankind is going up in the stars. And I want also to thank our friend Peter Moon. And it was the same question, you know. You have been so friendly to us. This morning you have been doing Ching Kong with, you've been throughout Romania writing about and thinking about. Why?
That's a very good question, and I can answer it. Ever since I was about, probably younger than most of you at the age of high school, I became interested in science fiction. My interest went from sports to science fiction, and it caught my interest. And at that point, when I read my first book by Ray Bradbury, I wanted to be an author. And it took me until about the age of 39 to become an author, but it was because it excited the mind. And my mind was excited by a story called The Kaleidoscope, which was about immortality. And that always caught my interest, and I became, at the age of 39, having a very interesting life up to then. I was now came of age where I met this incredible character named Preston Nichols, who had experiences in time. He had theories in time that literally changed the paradigm of the way scientists thought about time. It forced, as David Anderson once said about here before, and I'm sure he will again someday, but this is the cutting edge of knowledge, and he wanted to bring me here. David arranged for me to come here on my first trip, and he was mysteriously drawn to this location of Atlantykron. And at the same time this was happening, I began to translate, or have translated the works of Radu Shinomar into English. And I published his first 3 books, and I'm now just about to publish his 4th book. And when we're talking about hopes and dreams and Romania, this is very important, because I have followed a path, while writing, I have tried to follow a path of truth on my own personal quest. And this has led me to Romania on many dimensions. And I have learned, and others, was that the patron god of ancient Romania is Zalmoxis. And Zalmoxis is a god or a creature of transformation. When we're talking about hopes and dreams, he's, by legend, somebody who transformed from a human into a god. Now, when we speak of people living to age 71, this is statistically correct, more or less. When I teach Qigong and when I learn Qigong, this will extend your life by decades. The body can easily live to 150 years. It can replicate itself. It replicates itself every 7 years. So when you begin to put in oxygen and you put in oxygen into your lobes of your lungs, which most people are using 5% of, it's like using only a percentage of your brain. If you use all of your lung capacity by long, sustained, continued breathing and combining it with certain exercises, you can extend your life and the quality of life decades and decades. So as I'm learning this, decades, I'm now programmed so I can live to 100 and beyond, and wow, there's no pains of arthritis and the things that people have. It's all scientific. It's scientific from an ancient tradition. Now, what has been proliferated to me, and most of you have not read Radu's books at all, but his second book is very interesting because it's about an alchemist who, a part of it is, it's sort of a side story about an alchemist who claims to extend the body hundreds of years and possibly even thousands by one of the principles is a geometric device, which he explains in some detail, not complete detail, but it's a vibration. It emits a vibration that will extend your life. I asked my Qigong teacher about this, and he says, yes, vibration. You can have vibration, yes. So I'm being encouraged, and I've been told by Radu that I will meet this person. Now, all of a sudden, if I'm being told I can live to 100 or 150 and believe it and practice it, now I'm being told I can live hundreds of years beyond that. Now, something I never wanted to do. It would seem to be easier to reincarnate. But my theory is that if you're given a gift, you should take the gift. You accept the gift of life. You don't reject it. Rejecting it is perilous if you're a part of life. So this is a story of about transformation. But this story occurs in your country. And I will be leaving here on Thursday with Jeanette and her husband to go to Sarmen Sejatuza, which is a big part of my experience here. So what I've learned is this is the original country. Transylvania existed during the Ice Age. It was pristine. The Indo-European language is the Romanian language, the more archaic form of it. And this is where mankind came out of after the Great Ice Age, because it was pristine. It was not glaciated in Transylvania, and to a lesser degree here in Wallachia. But so why I come back, why I come here, it is the path of truth, and that has led me here and led me to not only gifts, but the promise of more gifts. I've already gotten more than I bargained for in this life by actualizing my potential to become a writer. And that path of truth, and the path of truth that Dr. David Anderson was on, led him, I believe he sent me here as a marker in time. He saw from either his subconscious or part of his aspect, says, Peter needs to be here, he must be here, from God knows what his experiments are, because I do not know all the details of them, and he keeps them very secret, that I was supposed to be here. And so this is a transformation process for me. So I'm happy to share it with you. I hope to return not only to Atlantykron, but to Romania additionally and subsequently, if that can be arranged by the circumstances of life. So it's always a joy to see my old friends here and to meet those of you who are new. So this has been my hopes and dreams. If I've answered your question, so I hope to continue to come and to continue to share, and most important for me is to continue learning. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. And from what you said, I understand that I could be myself in 2:30 here with you when people will land off Mars. It might happen, but I'm quite sure that someone will come here. Someone that we all love on this island. Roberto promised me that you will help Sorin in 2:30 to be around here with them and with their children to look at the first step of the humankind on Mars.
So I'm looking towards immortality myself. Very humble. I'm joking. So okay, I was deeply moved by the stories I heard, and unforgettable stories from our beautiful African friends. And since we are speaking about dreams, I will just tell you about a minimalistic dream that happened in my life and that I somehow accomplished. And actually, the dream went kind of behind its own purpose, its own boundaries. And since we have been talking about the future science fiction, this dream has also to do with science fiction. As many of you probably know, I write occasionally science fiction. And I grew up with a kind of myth, which was American science fiction writer Robert Shackley. Robert Shackley is not so well known to the big public, but it's considered to be one of the greatest 10 science fiction writers ever.
And you brought him on the island.
Yes, I brought him on the island, and this is a part of this magic which happens that was not planned. It was beyond the boundaries of the dream which I had. Because I grew up, my whole writing changed completely the day I wrote his books. I may have never become a writer without reading his books, actually, because they just show me that the way of thinking he was doing, which was somehow similar to mine, was possible. And so actually I have been dreaming about getting in touch with him. I was not even dreaming to know him, I just wanted to establish at one point a contact, because I was feeling so close to him. And so 19 years ago I sent him a letter. It was before the internet, before the emails, and I got his address from another science fiction author, Harry Harrison, which I met in Jersey in a science fiction convention. Exactly, we were all there. And the letter bounced back after a month that I've been thinking, my God, now Shackley has received my letter. I don't care if it doesn't answer to me, but I like the idea that he had got a touch of my existence somehow. This was enough for me, actually. My dream was partially accomplished already. And then the letter came back, and this was like the world falling apart, it's childish, but since this was a kind of child dream, even if I was already old, somehow, this was a big disappointment. And so I stayed there and it was something written there by the postman, and I didn't really read it, and I threw the letter inside somewhere, and I forgot about it for 6 months. After 6 months, I found the letter again, and for the first time, I had digested the disappointment. I read what the postman wrote with a very chaotic handwriting. And it was written, try with the Multnomah County Library. I saw him there some days ago. What does it mean? And so I wrote a letter writing, Multnomah County Library, Portland, Oregon, USA. Sorry if I disturb you, but somebody told me Shackley has been seen in your place. Do you have by chance his address? Very naive, and so after 1 week or 2 weeks, I received a letter from the Multnomah County Library. I had spelled it wrongly, but nevertheless it arrived at the station. They very politely answered back and say, dear Mr. Quaglia, the Portland telephone book quotes, says the address of Shackley is this one. So what did I do? I still had a package with a letter of mine and some stories of mine and all the stuff which I sent to Shackley, which came back, was still closed because I didn't reopen actually the package. So I made a bigger package, I put the old package inside, and I sent a new letter to Shackley with the story what had happened. And like in a matryoshka, it was inside, it was the old letter with the original letter, everything sealed, by the original post stamps and so on. And so I sent him the things, and after some weeks I received a letter from Sheckley, and so I got in contact with him. I will save you all the steps. One day I will write a book about the whole story, because I find it very nice actually to tell the whole story about that. But I will just end up that my dream went beyond this point, and we became friends. He came to visit me. We traveled around Europe for months. When he was 77, he separated from his 5th wife and came to live in my place in Genova, because he found that this was the best place to come. So for some months he was there. I came here to Atlantykron with Sheckley in '99. Great story. Then he passed away in 2005, and after that his wife sent me a letter in which she said at the end of the letter that in his last years I was his dearest friend. So we are speaking about something which goes 100-fold times beyond the dream. You know, you have the dream to meet one time an author, and you end up with his wife saying that I was his best friend. And this is again a little minimalistic story about the power of dreams. Sometimes the result can overwhelm completely your originally great dream. You discover that actually there was 100 times more to go beyond your own dream. And to just finish the story, I had another little story. One time I was complaining with Sheckley that anyway I have no readers, and because my books are not so commercial and stuff. And I told him about a Romanian fan who wrote to me and told me that I'm the best writer that he has ever read in his life. And I was so moved by that, by him. I met him and I told him, I have only one reader, I told to Sheckley. And he told me, perhaps that's the destiny of every writer. I have also only one reader, and this is you, Roberto. And this was a beautiful answer. And years later, I would meet this Romanian fan, who meanwhile had become a very successful Romanian blogger. Maybe you have heard, somebody of you have heard about him. He's Drăduț Florescu. He has the site tadu.ro. It's a blog about traveling. Many people know him. He has thousands and thousands of followers. One time, so we met, we spent some time again together, and I told him the story and said, everybody has only one reader. And I told him the story that I told to Sheckley that he was my only reader, you know. I think that he will remember it for a long time. And now he has the same pattern. He has also his public, and so it's very funny. He had the dream to meet me. I had the dream to meet Sheckley. He became more famous than me in Romania for sure. So, power of dreams. I think I said enough.
Well, let me tell you that I have never dreamt that one day I shall make an interview with Robert Sheckley, which actually happened because Roberto came to my television with Robert Sheckley. So if you want to know more about Robert Sheckley and Roberto Quaglia, put on Google Sheckley or Roberto Quaglia, because you have it on you, and you will. It is a wonderful 1 hour discussion about science fiction and the world around us.
I want to add something to this story, because this is a beautiful story, if I may. We were just for a few days in Bucharest. We got the phone call that there was this possibility to make the interview. We had short pants. We didn't have time to go dress ourselves properly. So we were trying to hide ourselves a little bit, you know, to be more decency, you know. And when actually Sheckley died, this video, which was put on the internet, was downloaded by thousands and thousands of people all over the world. In this moment, this interview, it was one of the few available footage, I mean meaningful footage, because it was a 1 hour talk show, so it's a deep product. It's not just a little interview of 5 minutes, it was more than that. It was a 1 hour talk show. It was the main item about Shackley available on the internet in the moment of his death, and all over the world it was downloaded. It was, I calculated, it was something like hundreds of gigabytes of traffic, or thousands. It was mind-boggling. It was, luckily I had some a lot of bandwidth, because so actually this is a little story that I wanted to.
It's wonderful. Strange things happen on earth, you can be sure. But in the book you are going to write, please put something in more. What happened to you when you won a trip from Napoli or from Milano to London paying €1? So he won this €1 trip, and Roberto said, I cannot stand it, you know, I cannot resist. I shall go on plane, go to London and come back, because paying €1 for that is something out of this. So he went to London for €1 and back. It's in the same suppose. I think that's it. If Sorin has something to...
I want to close with my dream. Also have a dream. And that dream went in almost every summer in 18th. I come here in this area, just next to the river over there, to fishing with my my father. And I have a dream that maybe I will have a chance in one day to cross here on this island, because not boats in around here, so it was only animals who cross the river and back. No people was touching here this land, so I just dream maybe one day I will cross over there. And first step, I met here in 1989 together with Alexandru, and because of an idea, so because of Alexandru's idea, I changed my dream, and that dream come to reality and be real starting with 19th. And finally, Atlantykron is something from my dream, and you part of my dream. So, thank you for being part of my dream.
Try to always be in a dream. You'll live long and beautiful lives. That's it. Thank you, folks. If there are some questions, if someone wants to ask you,
Even in Romanian, chiar și românește, dacă cineva vrea să întrebe ceva sau să...
Try to speak on the microphone.
I was wondering how important it is to have an idol in your life. Does it help you exceed your expectations or to reach a certain goal? Because I personally don't have an idol, and I was thinking, do I have a problem? Should I have an idol in my life or a model?
Okay, I will take a shot on that and then pass over to someone. Thank you very much for your question, because in my sense, I think it's very, very crucial. Because even though I'm talking about a dream, the path I was able to take, some of the masters that I follow talk about this, the purpose of your life. And all of them, the one that I actually will consider idol, or those who help me be the person I'm today, always send me within myself. From Socrates all the way down, they will tell you that you need to take that trip within yourself in order to know who you are and know where you can be. But they were instrumental in doing that. You can wake up in the morning and look at that mirror and see yourself and communicate with yourself, but it may help, from my perspective, to have others, not just one person, but others telling you that you can do that. That voice will help you, you know, because sometimes, you know, we all wake up one day and we feel like lazy, but hearing someone that believes in you, someone that actually has done something, you know, telling you, yes, you can do it, sometimes can help. That's what I was saying. It's very important. It's not paramount. It's not the. You can do without it, I think, but I think it helps to have someone that you're trying to emulate, to help you. Having it, like I say, for me was having a purpose in my life. The day I leave, what do I want to leave behind? Because I'm sure we are going to leave someday. You know, what I'm going to use my life for. It didn't come, it may be after the trip that I went within myself to find out, but it was people, other people encouraged me to make that trip within myself. Thank you.
Good. Anyone else? Natalie, anything to say?
I would say yes and no. On one level, the yes part, yeah, it is good to look at somebody else. Role models are very good, and it is good to emulate them, to look at what are they doing, what can I do, and it is good. They, like Guy said, they give us motivation to reach there. But at the end of the day, it comes back to you. Yes, your role model is doing 1, 2, 3, but what are you doing yourself? So yes, they're doing this, but then it comes back to you. What am I going to do about it? I can tell you something, but at the end of the day, it will depend on, are you going to do what I'm encouraging you to do? So once again, looking at yourself.
I want to add something. Actually, to have models, somehow it's inevitable and necessary. Because models, this is, you know, we are born empty. If our parents are our first models, we don't choose them. Sometimes we need to add other models, so they are necessary. Idols are idealized models. Sometimes idols can be a necessary evil. For example, Shackley was an idol of mine in a way, but it was a kind of necessary evil because it was a very good model, and I went immediately beyond the idol level in the moment I met him. So the point is, to have an idol is good as long as you can have a good relation with the reality. A lot of people go in front of the idols and they cannot see the person because they are blinded by the idol which is in her mind, and this is very frustrating for these famous people because they cannot interact with you because you don't see them. You see the idealized version of them. So, in this case, I had an idol. In the moment I met him, in 5 minutes I was talking to Robert, not with Shackley. I could never put them together in my mind. One is the idol and one is the person. This is why we became friends. So, the idol is a necessary evil, but you have to abandon it as soon as you have a better alternative, like a real relation.
If the question was about ideals, idealul, the answer may be that here we stay together trying to work for something that I would call, maybe pompously, a world with a forever peace. It could be a dream, and I think it's building itself slowly. Any other questions?